How are you?
I'm great, Kaz. How are you getting on today? You alright?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. We're bringing to you on Salaam Radio every Tuesdays at 5 p.m. our show, The Peterborough Property Guys. We are live on Salaam Radio on 106.2 FM. You can listen to us online by visiting salamradio.co.uk or watch the show on our streaming services by searching Salaam Radio on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. If you prefer mobile, please download the Salaam Radio app through the App Store or Google Play. Salaam Radio is always on air 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. We'll be bringing you a fresh guest every week, so if you have any questions, then please get involved in our show by dialing 01733 602 133, or you can text or WhatsApp on 07745 278 978. So, we're not going to have a guest this week because today is going to be mainly about what the show is going to be offering the people of Peterborough, as well as our backgrounds and how we're going to actually add value to the show. Our first guest for next week is James Dawson from Wilson & Co. Estate Agents based in Hampton, who will be sharing with us his journey as an estate agent and discussing the recent tenant fee ban which has been enforced this month and ways to beat it. Also, some legislation changes regarding the Section 21 notice that is due to take place very soon and how that's going to be affecting evicting tenants. So, our main topic to be discussed later in the show, which is how a hard Brexit will affect Peterborough house prices. So, before we go into full details, here are the headlines for today's topic. Worries that Brexit referendum will lead to a fast crash in Peterborough. Property values in Peterborough have reduced since the referendum in summer of 2016. A majority of Peterborough homeowners waiting until 2020 to move houses. Brexit, no Brexit, hard Brexit. In the whole scheme of things, will it be another footnote to history in a decade? Is Peterborough the new Bronx after being dubbed the worst place to live? More to follow on that. Before we kickstart the show, have you got a question for our listeners and viewers? How much truth is there in Peterborough being dubbed the worst place to live in England? So please do WhatsApp your answers on 07745 278 978. Or you can comment on Facebook Live. So, guys, as mentioned, my name is Qasafi Adam. I'm just going to be introducing the co-host of today, Adam Cooper. Adam, welcome, mate. Please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers out there. And we really want to tell them why they should listen to us on Salaam Radio and how this will benefit them.
Okay then, thanks Kaz. So hi everyone, my name is Adam Cooper. My background is an interesting one, to be fair. I originally left school wanting to be a mechanic. My dream was to fix cars and work on cars, and that's all I ever did. And you know what, after 3 years of doing my apprenticeship, I decided, it's just not for me. And I looked at going into career in sales because I always had a big mouth and talked for England, so I thought, you know what, let's earn some money off it.
Yeah.
And then just by pure coincidence, a friend of mine advertised a job on Facebook saying he was looking for someone to join a well-known corporate estate agency. And I thought, how's it got to be far more interesting than cars? I've done cars for long enough now. So just by pure fluke, I ended up in this industry. And when I started there, I went from being a sales negotiator, worked my way up to being a valuer.
Wow.
Then I got a bit fed up with it because I was making all these guys money and nothing for myself. So I had a little break again and I went back into it and joined a smaller independent agency who at the time were only managing 80 properties. Well established in the area, been around about 10 years or so, and they were just kicking off sales, so it was a really great place for me to add some value. In my time there, I went from being a lettings negotiator, which to be fair at the time I'd never even been, and we went from that within a few months up to the manager, and we really changed that place. That place grew from 80 properties managed to 245 in the portfolio.
Amazing,
and we started
mate.
exchanging on an average of 10 grand a month in sales when we'd never done an exchange before.
Brilliant.
That's with a constantly news changing team. So, yeah, I've got quite a diversified background there. But since then, I've gone on to found my own HMO specialist conversion and management agency, where we always strive to constantly innovate in the industry in such a crowded marketplace. And that's why I love the idea of the show, Kaz, because we're going to get all these industry experts and we're going to hear everyone's knowledge and everyone's ideas and how to get around today's challenges. So,
absolutely.
I love that. So my expertise, they really lie in the shared accommodation market. And you can say my main skills are converting old rundown properties into boutique shared living accommodation. A bit of sales and estate agency background, management, and mainly management of complex HMO portfolios. And all in all, I'm hoping to bring some value to our audience from my time-served experience and my day-to-day experience in this fast-changing industry where knowledge truly is power.
Absolutely. as the saying goes, knowledge is power.
Couldn't
That
be
is
more
implemented.
wrong. I couldn't be more right
So,
there, Kaz, honestly, man.
You know, you've got the experience to actually
Yeah.
back that up.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, this generally is going to be a great opportunity for homeowners, landlords, and even estate and letting agents to actually tune in every Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. You know, so they could not only benefit but even add value to the show. I mean, would you like to share with what the Peterborough property guys would be bringing to the show to all our viewers and listeners out there?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, what we're hoping to bring to the show is to keep people ahead of the constantly changing market. I mean, the legislation's always changing, the market trends are always changing, even what homeowners, you know, tenants always wanting is always changing. I mean, everything's moving so quick in this industry in the last sort of 5 years or so. I mean, I know we've had challenges in the past, you know, in the 80s and such like that, moving forward to here. But now everything's changing so quick.
Absolutely.
We've really, really got to keep ahead of the game. I mean, essentially, we're all in this game for the same reason. We all want to make some residual income through property, but while bringing the best quality product to the market for everyone.
100%. I mean, I mentioned this is not only going to be benefiting landlords and homeowners. I also mentioned estate and letting agents. How will this show help independent letting and estate agents of Peterborough?
I mean, Kaz, gone are the days of merely selling or letting a property. I mean, I'm sure as you know yourself, it's not just a case of listing a property anymore. There's so much more to it. You know, with the brand and the market inside, we've even how homeowners got to get a property ready just to sell. And the same again with landlords when it comes to renting a property. So all the letting agents, all the estate agents, you know, you're going to hear from other local agents as well as nationwide agents who are going to give their input, give their advice on how they're thriving in this market rather than just surviving.
Fantastic. So, I mean, how will this show equally help homeowners and landlords of Peterborough? Because, you know, fair enough, letting and estate agents, they're already established. We expect them to know the basic stuff about property, you know, hence why they've gone unopened. But what about those, you know, landlords who actually go on solo to manage their own portfolio? You know, people who are out there who are homeowners, you know, they need to be kept up to date with the latest legislation. How is this show going to actually benefit them?
Oh, it's going to be massive for landlords particularly. And all the changes, landlords who do this part-time can't help but struggle to keep up with the changes themselves and all the research. So what we're going to do here, we're going to be condensing all that down for our landlords and for our viewers and listeners to literally just allow it to keep up to date while you're on the move. I mean, it's prime time, 5 to 6, catch up on the latest legislation, all the changes as you're driving home. What more could you ask for?
Definitely, absolutely. I mean, that's brilliant. Listen to your you know, background. It is quite interesting. Mine is quite an interesting one too, because originally I was on a journey of becoming a doctor until one day I decided that you know, I didn't want to go to university and instead become an estate agent. I mean, what a contrast, eh?
You never told me you were going to become a doctor.
Oh well, I kept on a download, didn't I? But so I worked for a letting agency in my early days. Then I took a huge leap and started a business as a letting agency in my early 20s, growing that business to a portfolio of 250 managed properties, which then rapidly grew into a sales agency where at one point I managed around 10 staff members. So, you know, that's been an experience on its own. You know, so much that you can learn when you become your own boss.
So much.
Definitely. I mean, being in the industry for over a decade, without giving away my age, I recently launched a land and new homes department where I acquire and sell land and agree resales on land sites. So my focus is pretty much on that for now. So it's a totally new venture and experience for me, and I'm really excited about this. So hopefully over time, you'll know how that's going. But I mean, so much to talk about, so much to discuss. You know, our main topic is going to be about how a hard Brexit is going to potentially affect the house prices, not only over UK, but we want to mainly focus it on in Peterborough, because, you know, we're based in Peterborough. Our listeners are predominantly from Peterborough, so it's going to be really interesting for them to actually know how it's going to be affected. So we're not going to have a guest on today, unfortunately. Hopefully that's not going to ruin the buzz of the show. It's always good to have a guest. You know, next week we've got an estate agent, a really established estate agent that's going to be joining us. So that's going to be really exciting for people to actually hear from the horse's mouth the current climate of this property market. there's so much to talk about, but one thing I want to touch upon today is the tenant fee ban, which is massive, because before we go into too many details about the tenant fee ban, could you explain to our listeners and our viewers out there what is a tenant fee?
Oh, certainly, Kaz. I mean, a tenant fee is something a tenant's going to pay as an application fee, usually, just to reserve a property they want to rent in a letting agency. Now, with that, the thing with them was it usually come with a lot of hidden other fees. So they normally pay, say a set application fee per tenant, but then there'd be the inventory fee, the tenancy fee, you name it, as a fee for everything.
Okay, brilliant. So, as we know that, a tenant fee is a fee that a tenant pays an agency for them to be referenced, for them, if they pass a reference, for them to be vetted correctly, to have their contract in place, various other stuff like inventory. How is this going to affect, first of all, letting agencies who actually charge a fee to a tenant? And because that's now abolished since the 1st of June of this year, according to some statistics that I've read, that's potentially 35% off your profits.
Oh, so
that's massive. That's like
huge.
Almost 50%.
Yeah, for some agents it is huge, honestly, Kaz. You'd be amazed by the amount of revenue the fees are making up for a lot of these smaller letting agents. Just insane. I mean, so the ones who didn't gear up for this and get ready for this are going to struggle in this market now. I mean, it's going to be a crazy market these next couple of years. I feel that you're going to see letting agents disappear faster than you know it.
That was actually my next question. I mean, could we expect some companies to close down because they cannot sustain the businesses?
Oh, certainly. I mean, lettings used to be a hugely lucrative business, and that's why you found a lot of these little agents got into it, and that's why you found them charging crazy fees. And this is where it all just got out of hand, because it wasn't regulated in that sense.
I mean, what would be interesting, because as we know, Scotland actually enforced this many years before England did.
They did, yeah.
So it would be interesting at some point in one of our shows to get a letting agent from Scotland to actually explain to us their experience and how it actually impacted their business.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. What better way to hear somebody's time served in that, with that fee ban in place?
Yeah, I could imagine the big corporate companies, because they're quite a big enterprise. For them, it won't be able to affect them too much, I can't imagine. But what about those independent companies out there? I mean, how do you reckon they're going to cut back their costs to, be able to be sustainable?
I mean, it's all going to come down to smart budgeting with stuff, and looking for alternative ways. I mean, such as, I don't know if you've heard, Kaz, as a massive thing of like zero deposits nowadays.
Yeah.
Where tenants will take deposit insurance instead. And that's a way, not only to bring the tenant fees down even more, so the barrier to entry to move in is a lot less. Okay. Because they've got no more fees to pay. They've potentially got only a deposit protection fee to pay instead of an actual deposit. So rather than paying like 5 weeks deposit, some tenants are paying as little as 1 week holding deposit, and that pays for insurance. That means that agents are also getting a little bit of money commission from the insurance companies as well. So lots of little things like this is going to take its place, but ultimately, many letting agents are just going to pass the fee on to the landlord for a set of fees.
So do you think this is going to be a dominoes effect where the letting agency suffers, which means the landlord's going to suffer, which ultimately means that the tenant's going to suffer? So what was the point of it in the first place?
I always have this conversation with people, because it's good and bad, this, like I say, it's the fees were there for a reason, but they were unregulated, so it meant people just charged what they wanted, which is where it went crazy. So now what I can see is going to happen anyway, is my opinion, is that the renters who move short term, sort of 6 months to 6 months, they're going to win, because they're going to save their fees each time. But now the long term renters, they're going to stay, say, 10, 20 years like they do. But what's going to happen is the landlord's going to get the cost passed on to them through the agent, and inevitably the landlord's going to ask to pass that cost on to the tenant through higher rent. So now it is going to be a dominoes effect, because the landlord down the road is going to hear that next door's getting 100 quid more than he is per month, and he's going to have to same out with his long-term tenants. So it's the long-term ones who lose out, really.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, it's a negative for letting agencies because it's a huge amount of their income. What about the tenants? Do you think they're probably, really rubbing their hands thinking, wow, what a great time for us? Or do you reckon it's going to come back with a vengeance?
So it's interesting, because again, I still think it's going to be the short-term ones, because let's be honest. I mean, how many people know what fees agencies actually charged? Unless you move around a lot with letting agents. You know, I know myself. Before I rented anywhere, I didn't have a clue what they charged.
Yeah.
You know, before any of that. So I don't think it's as big a bonus to the tenants as people make out it is.
Yeah.
You know, because when you're going to move, I think people would have paid the fee just because they expected to pay it.
So guys, you know, if you want to get involved in the show, you can text or WhatsApp on 07745 278 978. Alternatively, you can join Facebook Live and make some comments there. You know, it's a really interesting topic. This is. I mean, what's really important to know is what are the implications if someone did charge a tenant a fee or such.
See, this is interesting as well. You see, because if the landlord or the agent charges even £1 more than they should have done, and there's you know, they can't justify it, then you can't evict that tenant.
Wow.
You know, so guys, you got to make sure you're with good letting agencies on this, because if you go to evict a tenant, I mean, fingers crossed that situation doesn't happen, but if you ever need to for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to unless they've followed it by the book. And with it being new legislation, there's going to be agents out there and landlords who are going to make mistakes.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much that's actually there's so much legislation changes that's making it difficult for not only landlords but you know, letting and estate agents equally. I mean, the Section 21 notice is, you know, something that's a news topic that's been brought up, where, you know, the government are thinking about abolishing that. So there's so many other buy to let taxes that are being introduced that are making it difficult for investors to buy.
Well, it really is. I mean, the market's getting squeezed at the minute. The industry and the sector is getting squeezed by the government at the minute. But I mean, it's, I suppose, all how you look at these things. Some of them are good, or some of them are bad. You know, like the tenant fee ban. In my opinion, it probably should have been regulated rather than banned altogether. But essentially, I think once the letting agents get over it, it's going to be for the greater good, because you're going to have a lot more cleaner, more respected industry. You know, less of the extortionate fees. I mean, God, people just want something to live at the end of the day, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, coming from a lettings background, I know how difficult it is for some tenants sometimes to pay a fee. I mean, the fee can actually vary from a little less £100 to even £500 in some places like London.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, you know, for a tenant to actually be able to give that kind of money, I mean, it's like almost half your salary, isn't it? If you're on a basic salary. Yeah,
I mean, especially in Peterborough, guys. You think the average wage in Peterborough, I hear, is about 16 to 18,000.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you did the average across the UK, which I think is about 25 to 28,000. You know, if you break that down to monthly terms, you know, on 28,000, what are you taking home? Around about what, 17, 1800 pounds a month?
Yeah.
And if you're single and you've got to pay 500 quid in fees plus deposit plus the rent, that means it's over 1 month's worth of wages gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, in hindsight, for tenants, it's a really good thing, because if they fail the reference for any particular reason, letting agencies don't have a leg to stand on, because it's an expense that they have to take on the chin now. So it's really interesting, the fact that, do you reckon that's going to speed up the rental market? Because let's be honest, there's not a shortage of properties. Sorry, there is a shortage of properties, but there's always been a demand for rental properties. So, do we not need to build more houses?
I mean, we're noticing the influx of tenants that come through are speeding up so much faster. I mean, there's a little dip. I don't know if anyone else found it, but I found it sort of between sort of February, March and April time. It slowed down a lot. And I have a feeling a lot of it was to do with the tenant fee ban, because I know I myself in my agency had tenants saying, oh, but if we wait 2-3 weeks, there'll be no fee. I mean, our fees are relatively low. I mean, for a room, it was like £60 plus VAT. So but there were tenants waiting just for that. So, I mean, it has increased the volume of tenants coming through the door. But now it's interesting, though, because if a tenant fails to disclose something on a reference, because we basically what we have to do is explain to them exactly what we're going to be checking them for. And they have to agree that that's all okay and that they're going to pass. But now if they fail that through misleading information, they actually can lose the whole 1 week holding deposit. So when you compare it to, say, someone like myself who's only charging £60 plus VAT, so £72, compared to, say, a week's worth of rent, even at £100, £150, the tenant's actually got more to lose now with the agents who are charging less than they had to lose before.
Wow, interesting. Let's move on to a different topic now. We've discussed the tenant fee ban. We spoke about our backgrounds a little bit. So we both come from property backgrounds. We've had more or less over a decade each in the industry. So our knowledge in this is quite vast. Although there's always something to learn. What we want to speak about now is the Section 21 notice. So if you don't mind telling our listeners and viewers out there, what is the Section 21 notice?
Well, Section 21 notice, Kaz, that's a no-fault eviction notice. That means you can serve that on a tenant 2 months prior to their tenancy period ending with no reason at all to take back possession of the property.
Interesting. Okay. So now the government have actually gone into Parliament to abolish this. What does that mean for landlords and letting agents?
It's a massive uncertainty for everyone, because let's be honest, who's going to evict a well-behaved, good-paying tenant from a property when all their chance are going to do is re-let it? So in theory, you'd never evict a tenant who doesn't deserve it because there's no reason.
No.
And there may be the odd case where it's your family home and you need to move back. That happens from time to time, but not very often in my experience.
But for our viewers and listeners out there who don't know what Section 21 is, the substitute for Section 21 is a Section 8.
It is.
So why can't letting agents and landlords use a Section 8 instead of Section 21?
Well, Section 8, that's a totally different kettle of fish, because that's saying basically a tenant's broken the rules, breached contract somewhere.
Right, okay.
Right? No, there's mandatory grounds, there's discretionary grounds. And ultimately, you're going to go up in front of the judge, and the judge is going to make the call, not you.
Okay, fair enough. So Section 21 basically is, without a reason, you can evict a tenant, you give a normal notice, which is about 2 months.
2 months from the end of the tenants, that's right.
Right, okay. So now the government are saying that you have to give a reason to evict a tenant, basically.
That's what they're pushing for, yeah. Which again, it's all adding to, they want to make tenants feel safe and secure in their homes, because let's face it, we're becoming more of a generation of renters nowadays, aren't we?
Absolutely, we are indeed.
There's less and less people buying, especially in the younger market. The first-time buyers, the age is increasing all the time, as you're seeing. So
absolutely.
Again, I can totally see why they're doing it, but there must be an alternative, eh? There must be.
Well, there are some alternatives, but I don't know if they're acceptable. But yeah, another really, really important topic to make aware to landlord and letting agents out there. Section 21 potentially may be abolished by the end of this year, which means that if you do want to evict a tenant, you have to go through the Section 8 notice, and the Section 8 notice does vary from 2 weeks to 2 months. So you have to look at the clause and read what reason you're going to be providing and how much notice that means you need to give to the tenants. So it's really important for people who are unaware of this to be aware of this. I remember a couple of years ago, in fact, when we had the selective licensing in Peterborough. That is another massive topic that we can cover at another stage, but so many people were unaware of it, and people were getting fined. Even now they're getting fined because they haven't got a selective license in place. So it's so important, these laws that are changing constantly, that independent landlords are made aware of this, because although I hope letting agencies are ahead of the game, and the ones that are not, hopefully they're tuning into Salaam Radio or some other form of knowledge that they can actually keep up to date with the industry. Some are actually not prepared for this. So is there anything else that you want to add to the Section 21 notice or the tenant fee ban before we go to the break, because we've got about a minute or so?
Overall, I think definitely a tenant fee ban, like I say, although it's a massive inconvenience at the time, but like selective licensing was, which we'll touch base on shortly, will be a positive in the future. Again, just a big hurdle people are going to jump.
Sure.
But essentially it's going to make the market, like I say, a much better place. And Section 21 notice, that I'm curious to see how it rides out, how that plays out. I'll be really interested to see, because ultimately there's got to be a way that regular homeowners can take the house back if they need to.
And you just don't know how it's going to turn out with Section 21. If you give a notice, it's more or less one way or the highway, unless you make a mistake on the way. But there is a lot to be discussed even after the break. After the break, we're going to be talking about how a hard Brexit will potentially affect Peterborough house prices. A couple of other things are going to be discussed. We're also going to be talking about our guest for next week and his background and his experience and what value he's going to be adding to the show. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Now we're going to go for a short break, and when you do come back, we're going to be talking about how a hard Brexit is going to be affecting the house prices in Peterborough. So don't go away, and make sure you do come back for the show. We are the Property Guys. Speak to you soon now.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
It doesn't take much to bring some difference. You give some change, which makes a change. Because nothing gets mileage like a charity. Just a little change turns into a chain. And before we know it, the results are massive. So give a little to make a big difference. For donations, call now. UKIM 0207 387 2157.
दोस्ता की ये परेशानी
ये रख रहना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं ये मार फूड वाले की फोन कड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
आलाता उठा का स्पेशल आ
उन्हें की लबाई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां म्यारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दाना मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक ने टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी तो हर शय लबनी
जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374.
My name is Khalid Siddiq.
I'm Qasafi Adam.
Salaam alaikum, this is Baraka Blue.
Yo, this is your boy Harris J, and make sure you guys stay tuned to Salaam Radio 106.2 FM.
Salaam Radio, in conjunction with the Council of British Hajis, presents a Hajj seminar Sunday the 21st of July from 1 p.m. at the Allama Iqbal Centre, 157 Cromwell Road, PE1 2EL. Multimedia guide presented in English by Sheikh Suleiman Ghani and Abdul Akbar. Learn how to perform Umrah and Hajj. Practical guide. Interactive Q&A. Health and safety advice. Hajj travel shop. To book your tickets, visit cbhuk.org/events or call 0845 833 4145. Hajj Seminar, Sunday the 21st of July from 1 p.m. at the Allama Iqbal Centre, 157 Cromwell Road, PE1 2EL.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
Why is it hard to talk to our children about mental health? How do we support children with their mental and emotional well-being? Where can children turn to for mental health support? Sign up for our free interactive workshop to find out the answers to these questions and many more. On Tuesday, 25th June, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Millennium Centre on Dickon Street, Peterborough. This is a free workshop with very limited spaces, so to sign up, please visit Facebook/Lantern Initiative or email thelanterninitiative@outlook.com.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Salaam Radio. We are the Property Guys, the Peterborough Property Guys. So, Adam, we were talking about before the break various topics, such as the tenant fee ban. We're talking about the Section 21 notices, how that's going to be abolished. So we're going to move on to our the main topic of the day, which we spoke about at the beginning, how a hard Brexit will potentially affect Peterborough house prices. So all our listeners and viewers out there, we've received a few messages on Facebook Live from Shabazz. He's saying hi, Salaam. Azim Rayman saying Salaam. Walaikum Salam. We've got Shafil Hussain who just said Salaam. So Salaam Alaikum to all you boys out there who are tuning in to Salaam Radio and supporting us on the show today. As we mentioned, this is our first show. Adam, how's it going so far?
Oh, it's going great, man. It's going great.
Yeah?
I'm loving it, yeah. I reckon the viewers get some awesome value from us. And hopefully the guests that come on next week as well, man.
Definitely, absolutely. I think at the beginning of the show, we actually posed a question to our listeners and viewers out there. We haven't had any response just yet. Guys, if you're out there and you're listening right now, our question for you guys was, how much truth is there in Peterborough being dubbed the worst place to live in England? This was an article that was released.
It was just recently.
About Peterborough being the worst place to live in England. Guys, let us know your thoughts. Do WhatsApp us or text us on 07745 278 978. Alternatively, you can comment on our Facebook Live page. All you got to do is type Salaam Radio on Facebook and you'll see us live on there. But yeah, it's just another really interesting topic, isn't it? You know, I was born and bred in Peterborough. I'm not sure about yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
born and bred.
I grew up in Sorcher, just down the road. About 15 miles away, but always in and around Peterborough.
Yeah. We will definitely touch up on that a bit more. We're just going to wait for some comments to come through for some people on Facebook and WhatsApp. But let's move on to our main topic of the day, which was how would a hard Brexit affect Peterborough house prices? So many people out there at the moment are really uncertain about buying, selling. I mean, us both being in the industry, I mean, I'm in sales at the moment, so I kind of account it on a day-to-day basis. I've encountered certain vendors who are really hasty to sell the property, like, it's going to crash. At some degree, I don't blame them after, the remark made by the Governor of the Bank of England. What did he say again? He said, a disorderly hard Brexit would affect house prices up to 35%. Before we do move on to that, what I really want to ask, and I was hoping that you could, shine some light on this for our listeners and our viewers out there. How will the Brexit referendum lead to a fast crash in Peterborough, if that is the case?
I mean, it's hard to say, Kaz, but I mean, there's been worries that the Brexit referendum would lead to a fast crash in Peterborough, not just Peterborough, but nationally. But
wow.
I mean, property values so far have been unfounded that they've gone down so much. It's more that the growth rate of the values, especially in Peterborough, has reduced since the referendum in summer 16. I mean, it's true, the property market is seeing less people sell and move, and the property values are rising at a lot slower rate than even in 2018.
Definitely.
Compared to the heady days of the first half of this decade, which was 2010, 2015, and the price went nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. I still remember that.
I remember valuing people's houses, looking at when they bought in the crash, going, oh my God, sorry, not in the crash, just before the crash, in a boom. And going, oh my God, I can't believe you paid that. You're going to be here forever.
Yeah.
5-6 years later, I mean, houses we were valuing at 80, 90 grand. They're now selling for 150, 160, something 170.
Yeah.
This is a place where we weren't known for capital appreciation at all. We're just known for high yields. So I mean, we haven't suffered a brunt too much. I mean, and they say that although we may take a dip, our prices are not going to be any worse off than we were in 2015.
Wow.
I mean, since the EU referendum, they've risen 13.82%.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think before it was only rising at something silly like 4 or 5% in Peterborough.
Yeah.
So 13.82% in a bad market. I mean, I don't know about you, Kaz. I'll take that. I mean, in 2018, we was on track to finish on 3,408 property transactions. That's like the number of people selling their homes, which is still less than 2017, but still higher than the long-term 12-year average of 2,879 transactions in the local council area.
Interesting. So it's not a million miles off.
It's not, no. So I wouldn't say it's affected us so much. I think because Peterborough is such a boom market at the minute. I mean,
I think more than anything, it's really slowed it down, hasn't it?
It has. It's slowed it down, but I think it's more due to uncertainty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're saying, people are holding off to sell because they're worried about the crash.
Yeah.
In my experience, that's what slows down the market. I mean, I know back in like 2012, 2013, when we had another recession.
Yeah.
As soon as that came out, the market slowed, almost stalled for us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much the fact that prices were going down. It was the fact that people were talking to people and saying the same thing, there's a recession, we shouldn't sell. And then the fear factor set in. So people stopped selling so much. People stopped buying as much. So then it was only the really motivated sellers who were reducing their prices to get gone, which then has a domino effect again and reduces overall sale price in the area.
So it appears the EU vote hasn't caused many major issues so far. However, if there was a large economical jolt, that would be a different game, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's hard to tell. But a hard Brexit would subdue wage growth to like some degree. Yet the level of change would depend on the undetermined type of Brexit deal, or no deal in that case. Trade barriers are imposed on a hard Brexit. Imports will become more expensive, inflation will rise, and growth will fall. Well, at least we're not in a euro, meaning this could be tempered by the exchange rate of the pound against euro. But in plain English, a hard Brexit will be worse for house prices than a deal. So ultimately, for people in the sector, they're looking for a deal.
Absolutely, and that's what the big uproar is about at the moment, isn't it?
It is. You've got people pushing and pulling both ways, haven't you?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I did mention the Bank of England, the governor of the Bank of England. He suggested a disorderly hard Brexit early this year would affect house prices by up to 35%. That's mental. I mean, why did the governor of the Bank of England suggest such a disorderly hard Brexit? I mean, would it actually really affect the property prices by 35%?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, Peter has so much to offer. I kind of disagree with that statistic because I think we're such a booming city alone. We've always got more and more people coming here. But I mean, in terms of nationwide, it was only 9 years ago we went through the global financial crisis with the credit crunch. Nationally, in most locations, including Peterborough, property values dropped in value by 16 to 19% over an 18-month period. Looking at the graph I've got here, and I don't know if our viewers are going to see it on Facebook later on, and we can post it up for them. If we had a similar percentage drop, like I said before, it would only take us back to the value levels we were achieving back in 2015. And let's not forget, the Bank of England introduced some measures to ensure we didn't have another bubble in any future property market. One of the biggest factors of the 2009 property crash was the level of irresponsible lending by banks. The Bank of England Mortgage Market Review of 2014 forced banks to lend on how much borrowers had left over after regular expenses, rather than just on their income. I mean, it is because in Kaz, I'm sure you've seen it again, especially being in a lettings game. People can be high earners, but high spenders as well.
Absolutely.
You could be earning 100 grand a year, but you may spend 101. So
I remember going 10 years back. Anyone could get a mortgage. I mean, literally anyone could get a mortgage. But now it's a totally different ball game. It's an absolute different. People are coming to me left, right, and centre and saying to me, "Look, we're struggling to get mortgages." And we've touched on this topic. This will, in fact, be our topic for next week. So our topic for next week, in fact, is going to be how Peterborough first-time buyers need 7.2 times annual salary to get on the housing ladder. So, interesting enough that you mentioned that. We did receive a message, in fact. Yeah, so going back to our initial question at the beginning of the show, which was how much truth is there in Peterborough being dubbed the worst place to live in England? And someone did comment on it, if I can get this opened up. But yeah, they actually mentioned that they disagree because Peterborough has a lot to offer.
it certainly does. I mean, it's changed, God, from 5-10 years ago, hasn't it?
Absolutely. To be quite fair, I was really shocked when I heard that because only a couple of years ago, Peterborough was the fastest growing city.
It certainly was.
Not in England, but the UK.
Yeah.
So, I know they went to number 2 at one point, but now taking a few steps behind. For someone to come out and say that, I mean, that's a huge contrast in my opinion.
God, I mean, they must have picked a rainy day in Peterborough to survey these people because, my God, I mean, It's not always rainbows and sunshine here, but I wouldn't say it's the worst place to live by any means. Think, what other place you go and have any cuisine you want, and get on Lincoln Road, you can pick any food you want in this country.
Absolutely. One thing that Peterborough has got to offer is the diversity that it actually possesses. So we've received a comment on Facebook from Shazad Ali. So Shazada says, do you feel the majority of homeowners have some sort of control? Example, through rental yields, which then affect the value of houses.
I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it, Kaz?
Thank you, Shazad, first of all, for that question.
Yeah, I mean, Shazad, that is a really, really interesting question. Because I don't know if you've seen it, Kaz. I mean, I specialise in like boutique-style shared houses, which rent for more than your standard type of HMO would. Your sort of shared house, your room in a shared house would go for. So there is kind of answering the question. I mean, by offering a higher standard that's above the norm, people will pay a little bit more because, I mean, you've seen it yourself, people used to be flooded with really, really poor stock.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I think if you do present your property in a certain way, you can ask that a little bit more.
It just goes saying, you know, if you could add value to a property, people are willing to pay for that extra money for it. And that ultimately potentially can affect the amount of yield you can get for your property.
So true. I mean, they say, don't it? They say when you're selling to someone, you need to appeal 80% to their emotional side and 20% to their logical side. You know, so all these shiny bells and whistles in houses, that's their emotional side. They're getting excited about the property, about the product, about them living in that. And the logical side appeals to, like, such as we don't have to spend that money on it. So ultimately people will pay more for this.
Absolutely. So thank you, Shazad, for that question. We received another question from someone on WhatsApp. Do you think the buy-to-let market in Peterborough is dead? It seems harder to find a property compared to a couple of years ago. Thank you for that question.
The price has certainly gone up, haven't they, Kaz?
Really interesting.
Seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which makes it, going back to Shazad's question, which if prices are going up, yields are going to be coming down.
They are. I mean, I think landlords nowadays have got to get a bit creative with what they're doing. I mean, hence why I find shared houses so appealing. I think not only is it a more modern way for people to live, but to live at a better standard, which then ultimately benefits the tenants, benefits the landlord with higher yields. You know, because like I said, tenants, they're presented in a better way, in a above average standard. Not only do you seem to get a more respectful class of tenant, I mean, they look after the house so much more just like it's their own. They, like I said before, they pay more. So that's a really good way to mitigate it. I mean, because like this show's all about, Kaz, it's all about being, you know, the driving innovators in the industry as opposed to just following the crowd and falling behind.
So do you think we're coming to a time where tenants are no longer looking at the shabby houses, as you can call them? They're looking more towards the houses that add value because there's more options out there?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've got houses that we manage in areas where, you know, still not the best areas, but the house is exactly what that tenant wants in that area. And I've got a few of the cheaper stock as well. You know, like the base range, still clean and tidy, but just very basic sort of shared houses. And they take a lot longer to rent, and they come empty a lot more. Yeah, by spending that little bit extra money, people stay in there longer. People are more, I'm finding them more picky. It's more of a lifestyle choice now, as opposed to a necessity like it was 2-3 years ago when we had a massive influx of people coming over to Peterborough all the time. I mean, a lot of our Peterborough community has got settled now. Because we had a large influx of Eastern European tenants coming over, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what led to a lot of the poor stock, because people could rent almost anything just because people needed somewhere to live. Whereas now it's more of they're moving in and they're picking a property because it's what they want. It's how they want to live.
Yeah. Just looking at that last question, in fact, that was a Facebook message that I read from the phone. So looking at the Facebook page now, it was actually a question from Faisal Mahmood. So thank you very much, Faisal Mahmood. I hope that answers your question. I mean, going back to what we spoke about initially, Peterborough being dubbed the worst place to live in England. A part of our show is going to be about why we love Peterborough. So it's our guests that are going to be coming on a weekly basis. They're going to, ranging from a letting agent to an estate agent to a mortgage advisor to a solicitor, a conveyancer, a property investor, a property developer. The list can really go on.
God, I mean, we're going to have counsellors on here.
Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? You know, it's equally as important that they're on there because they are the decision makers in some aspect of the law.
Oh, ultimately, and in this game, yeah, you've got to work with these people. You've not got to work against them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, going back to one of the topics that we discussed about, which was the selected licensing, I know we want to really just vaguely touch upon this because we spoke about so many other things. So we don't want to be flooding so much information in one show. But the selected licensing, I think that was, personally, I think that was a really good thing that was introduced in Peterborough. But we would love to hear your opinion. Yeah. So please, if you want to tell us what you thought of the selected licensing when it was enforced a couple of years ago, then text and WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. Alternatively, be on Facebook Live. You can comment, we'll read it out, and we'll try to answer it in the best possible way. Adam, you've been in Peterborough all your life.
That's right, yeah.
Tell me, why do you love Peterborough?
I love Peterborough. It's so diverse. I mean, it's so diverse. I mean, it's such an interesting place to live because of that. Because you're not just confined to just your average people. I mean, there's people from all walks of life here. Everyone's got a story to tell, and it adds so much culture to our area. You know, there's never a boring day. There really isn't. The characters you meet in this place is incredible.
I actually asked someone why they love Peterborough and they gave me this answer. I'm not going to mention any names, but they said that it's close to London.
A quick escape on the tube, eh?
Yeah.
It's true though, we're 45 minutes direct link to London. I mean, it's a big bonus, huh?
You know, that is one of the USPs of the Peterborough property market. I get a lot of complaints from first-time buyers. They're like, look, we find it difficult to be given the first refusal to buy a house. I'm like, okay, why is that? Purely because there's so many investors and they just outbid us. We put in the market value of the property and they put on a few K extra and we lose out. And I do feel their pain. What do you think, personally, is the remedy for this?
I mean, it is always going to be a tricky one with first-time buyers v investors. Because they're kind of in the same market, you know. They're kind of looking at similar styles of properties. Unless you're going for a bigger, an investor, you've got different strategies. You're going for a bigger property like I would, do lots of rooms in. But I mean, if you're just going for your average buy-to-let, then you know investors and first-time buyers are up against each other.
Do you not think we need more houses? Do you not think that will answer that question?
I think massively. I mean, because you've got so many options, especially on the new build side of things. You've got your shared ownership. You've got your help to buy. You know, you've got all your government-backed schemes which are helping first-time buyers get on the ladder. And you're not really competing against investors there. There's very, very little amount of investors there who are going to be competing in that market.
Absolutely. We've got plenty of people who are commenting on Facebook Live, on WhatsApp. We've got plenty of people who are actually liking and waving. Alias Ali waved. Hi, Alias. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a message from Carl Simpson. Shout out to my Carl. Mate Adam. So ask him about the university. When it comes, will it be a game changer for the city? Wow.
Carl, it definitely will, man. How you getting on out there? But no, Carl, you're right. Yeah, we didn't touch base on that. The university, that's supposed to be here and built by 2022. I mean, that would be massive. Not only when it comes, but in the build up to it. Yeah. I mean, imagine the amount of contractors going to drive to the city. Imagine the amount of big brands that's going to drive to the city in anticipation of it. I mean, the whole town centre will change. I mean, there's already talks of Queensgate getting extended, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cinemas, all sorts in there. So, I mean, you've got Flet and Keys. They're doing a £120 million urban beach development. I mean, this is in my eyes, is all building up for the university town we're going to be.
Absolutely. I mean, even Hampton, you've got the Hampton Beach. That's actually being developed right now. So much is happening at this particular moment of time. We've got another comment from Faisal Mahmood. So his comment on selective license. So here we go. Faisal says, I think selective licensing is a good idea as it ensures that a standard of housing for tenants is better. Absolutely. However, not sure I agree with the amount of fee. Now, this is something that we actually discussed yesterday, in fact, about the fee. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. Would be good to know what the council actually use this money for. They should provide an annual report. Faisal Mahmood, thank you very much for that comment, because believe it or not, we were talking about this. Was it yesterday or was it?
I mean, it was just on the weekend.
Just on the weekend, absolutely. Where is the money going? Is the big question that everyone's asking. That fair enough. you've enforced it. It's a good thing. We all feel that houses should be brought up to a good standard. Fantastic, you know. However, what do we get back in return?
So again, that's a really interesting point, because I mean, I'm sure you remember, Kaz, when they first introduced it, they sort of incentivised people to go either to become accredited landlords themselves by attending training courses like the NLA, you know, or they encourage you to go with an accredited agent. The idea being to make sure the properties are managed properly, which is a brilliant idea in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so they incentivised them with £50 fees rather than a full whack of 600. But then a little while later, they changed their mind, which again I can see why, because I mean £50 for all the effort they're doing, processing the application plus the visit.
Absolutely understandable.
Follow-ups. Yeah,
for that much, it's understandable.
It's going to be hard.
Think about how many houses are actually licensed.
Oh, it's thousands. I remember sitting there submitting the licenses to the whole team in the office. And every time we pressed one license through, I mean, it was like every, say, 10, 15 minutes, we were jumping up by hundreds in the numbers of applications.
Wow.
It was crazy. And we were there till like 2 a.m. some nights.
Yeah.
And it was still jumping up.
Because it was kind of a last minute thing too, wasn't it? When they officially said, we're going to, you know, they gave us the green light to say it's been enforced. Because I had like months and months, even I think over a year of consultation in various areas. And then eventually they're like, green light, everyone's like,
everyone just went
get
crazy,
a move on.
didn't they? I think for us, especially like other agents, we're interested to hear, but it was the fact that it was the unknown. You know, no one knew what they're going to submit on the application, so it was making sure you had everything in place. You know, I mean, I literally remember sitting in the office and having landlords come up to the door at like 11 o'clock, knocking on the window. Well, I've got me in there, piles of paperwork everywhere, bringing me IDs, like just random stuff, bringing me proof of addresses.
Wow.
You know, and they're all just flooding in. I mean, God, I think I had more customers than like the likes of Mackie D's that night. You know, I'm just sat there taking orders. I even had landlords offer to bring me food, fun enough. I should have took them up on their offer.
So brilliant. I'm just reading some of the comments being made. So going back to the point that obviously Faisal made, from £50 to £600 whack is what he actually said. It
is.
It's a massive, massive difference.
It's a big jump. I think people, the biggest problem with it is going to be the fact that the licence is only for 5 years from when it started. So anyone who pays it again now is getting less value. Oh, not less value, but they're going to perceive it as less value because they're getting a shorter period on the licence. I mean, after 5 years, it may not even be renewed. Because I don't even know, Kaz, or viewers, but the council actually have to go to government to appeal to have this put in place. They have to just meet set criteria. They can't just enforce it themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, it is really an interesting topic. I think we need a full show about this, and I'm sure once our viewers and listeners out there are aware that we're going to be talking about such a topic like selected license, they want to get involved and share their opinion, because I remember during the consultation, you know, there was mixed views and difference of opinions. So, any more questions? Faisal Mahmood is saying, I think 250 would be reasonable, but difficult to say if we don't know what it costs the council and what they use it for. So yeah, absolutely, Faisal, I totally agree with you. I think that if they could, elaborate on a bit more about what they're using the fee for, if they could justify it, then I think people would be more accepting to it and say, okay, fair enough, you're going to charge us X amount of money, and you need it for X, Y, and Z. But they've not actually done that. They said, look, we're just making life hard for you, and that's how it comes out to be, unfortunately. I
mean, that's a really interesting point there as well, Kaz. Because I've noticed since selectors licensing came in, I mean, like you say, it has been a burden to some landlords and some agencies, but I've found that when I've called upon the council for their help with tricky tenants, you know, where they're making it almost impossible to meet the standards in the property because they're just neglecting the property, they've been there to help me as an agent / landlord as well. Yeah. You know, so it does work both ways. So absolutely. I mean, touching upon what you just said now, we just reading a comment from Alias Ali. And he said, in my opinion, landlords are now less hesitant on spending money on their properties to bring to a good standard. Selective licensing has definitely had an input in that. Would you agree? Oh man, 100% in that, 100%. Because now they've got to show their properties. They've got to openly and willingly say, come and inspect my property. You know, who's going to want to bring someone around, a council official around, if it's not up to standard? You know, so ultimately the landlords are spending money easier. And it helps us as agents as well to make sure the tenants live a good life. Because, you know, I remember before when landlords simply wouldn't spend the money. Absolutely. Wow. I mean,
this is our first show. So much has been discussed. You know, next week we've got another show, same time, 5 o'clock on a Tuesday. We're going to be wrapping it up now, guys. So thank you very much for all those who have tuned in today. If there is anything that you want to discuss about the property market, then you can email us or WhatsApp us. Either myself or Adam will be available to assist you in any in the best possible way. Like we mentioned, next week's topic is going to be about how Peterborough first-time buyers need 7.2 times annual rent salary to get on the housing ladder. So that's going to be all for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the Property Guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
See you later.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.